Hello, everyone. So for this portion of the training, we will be covering the information and data entry for non-cash benefits, health insurance, and disabilities or disabling conditions. So the first thing to note is that all of these questions and all of these sections have two parts to it. They have a yes or no question. Yes, they're receiving this this non-cash benefit source or income source or disabling condition. And then there is a sub-assessment, which includes a HUD verification portion, just like as was in the income section. So the first question for non-cash benefits, you answer yes or no. So yes, they have non-cash benefits, or no. We're going to say yes. So non-cash benefits also has this HUD verification. If you click on the blue HUD verification, you'll get this sub-assessment box that pops up similar to the income information. So first you're going to answer yes or no for every one of these different non-cash benefit sources. So SNAP, so Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, so SNAP benefits are what used to be known as food stamps. WIC, so if a parent with young children receives WIC, TANF childcare services, transportation, other TANF funded services, and then there's an other category as well. So we're going to first click the no button, just like we did with the income source, and then we're going to move the button over to the yes portion for whatever non-cash benefits this individual or family is receiving. This question specifically in the sub-assessment needs to be answered for just adults only. So any adult that's in the household, you have to fill out and answer this question for. So this family is only receiving SNAP benefits at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and save and exit. It's also important to note that if this information is already filled in when a client or family is coming into the program and they said, this is already answered yes, and this is already filled in. You can see there's 6 non-cash benefits that you have to answer yes or no to. So you can see the SNAP right here. But for instance, what if they came in and they didn't have any non-cash benefits? You would just simply change this to a no if it reflects accurate information. And then you can open and edit this SNAP option that says yes. If you click on the pencil, you'll see that SNAP comes up, receives benefits, yes, start date. You would not change this yes to a no. So if they were no longer receiving SNAP benefits, you wouldn't change that yes to a no. Leave it as yes, and then you would just add an end date. So you would just add the end date, and the end date has to be the day before you're entering data. So if it was yesterday, we just simply change that to the day before your entry and save and exit. But for today's training, we're just going to leave this as a yes. The next portion of the intake assessment or entry assessment has to do with health insurance. So this section has to be answered for every person within the household. This includes children under the age of 18. So you have to answer, does this child and or adult have medical insurance? Yes or no. And then you also have another sub-assessment. So if you click on the HUD verification, you'll see all of the different types of medical insurance that we have in the system. So Medicaid, Medicare, New York State Children's Health Insurance Program, so that's the Child Health Care Plus, Veterans Administration, medical insurance employer provided health insurance. So if the parent or guardian or head of household has a job and that job provides health insurance, you'd select that. Health insurance obtained through COBRA, private pay health insurance, state health insurance for adults, Indian health insurance programs, and then there's another category. So usually you're going to avoid using the other category. Usually somebody fits into one of these. Most likely people have one means or one non-cash benefit of medical insurance that covers them. Once in a while you'll get people with 2. I have seen some people with private pay health insurance or employer health insurance, but maybe they are also a veteran, so they get Veterans Administration medical insurance on top of that. But that's not the usual case. So usually you'll only check one. But we're going to check no at first, so we can answer no for all of these medical insurance questions, and then we're going to move the little button over to the yes category for the medical insurance type that we want. And then we're going to save and exit. Now, medical insurance can also change in the program and in the system. So sometimes people might start out with Medicaid or Medicare, or and then eventually maybe they get a job and that employer covers them in medical insurance. So, or they come into, they maybe lose their job and then they come into the system through the shelter program and they don't have any insurance. So it's important to note that you change this yes or no question to reflect the changes. So we're going to say, no, this person maybe lost their medical insurance. And then there's 10 different types of medical insurance. You would just keep scrolling next to where that medical insurance type is. So you'll see this is Medicaid. It says, yes, they're receiving Medicaid, but we're going to change that insert to a no. We're going to click on the pencil. You'll see the start date, the health insurance type. Are they covered? Yes. We're going to leave that yes as it is. Do not change it to a no. And then we're going to just simply click the end date, but we're going to make sure to put it the day before the person is coming into the program. So they didn't have it today, so we're going to end it as of yesterday. And then we would save. Okay. And the next portion has to do with disabling condition. Now, this portion is important to note that you have to answer this question for every person in the household as well. So children and adults, you need to answer yes or no, and also fill out the HUD verification portion. So does this person have a disabling condition? Yes or no? We're going to say yes. And then we're going to click on the HUD verification sub-assessment. So these are just disability type categories and not very specific to the actual disabling condition itself. So the categories are alcohol abuse, both alcohol and drug abuse. So they're abusing both alcohol and drugs simultaneously. Chronic health conditions. So chronic health conditions are things like long-term health issues. So disability or diabetes, it can be heart disease, so long-term heart disease. They have a health condition that's going to be long continued indefinite duration, so it's going to be a long time, or it's for their life. Developmental disabilities, so that's autism, it can be, the mental retardation. There's a lot of different developmental disabilities that fall into this category. Individuals that just have a drug abuse issue, so they're not abusing alcohol and drugs, just drugs. HIV and AIDS. Mental health problems, so that's major depressive disorder, bipolar, schizophrenia, so they would fall in mental health problems. Physical disabilities, so that really has more to do with if they have maybe they have an issue with vision, or they're blind, or they have a missing limb, or they have some kind of physical deformity, so physical disabilities, that they would be covered into that. And if you have questions specifically about a disabling condition and where it would fall, there's a document that HUD has developed that can help you as well. So it's also important to note that this also is connected to the chronic homeless definition. So if a person has a disabling condition, you really need to make sure to identify that disabling condition so that they're pulled into being chronically homeless or identified as chronically homeless, if that is accurate. So just like with the above sub-assessments, we're going to click the no here at the top first. We'll answer no to all of these disabling conditions, and then we're going to simply move the button to the yes in the category we need it to. So for this purpose, we're going to say yes, the person has alcohol abuse disability. And then the next question we're going to answer is, if yes, is it expected to be of long continued and indefinite duration and substantially impairs the ability to live independently? This question also is important in regards to the chronic homeless question. So if a person is going to be identified as being chronically homeless within the system, you need to answer yes to this question. So if you have documentation, or if they believe, and then it's verified, or they believe that it's going to be long continued, it's going to last for a long time, and it's going to impair their ability to live out in society, you're going to answer yes. And then there's the start date. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's the date that the person's disabling condition started. It means that as of today, when they're seeking services and you're doing the entry, they have been identified as having a disabling condition. There's a note section. It's important to note not to put the specific disability in the note section. So we don't need to know that this person has schizophrenia or if they have heart disease or whatever the disabling condition is. We don't really need that within the system itself. The last question asks if above condition is going to be long-term. This you can note is retired. So anytime you see that word retired in parentheses in the system, it means that this question, you don't have to answer it anymore. So we're just going to skip over that question. And then there's an end date. So we're going to leave this open because we want to note that, yes, this person has a disabling condition. However, if this is not, so if this information was already in the system prior to their entry and they're coming in today, but this is not accurate, you can put an end date, just like with income and non-cash benefits. And the end date would be 1 day prior. So it would be yesterday. And you would still leave this information as is. And then once you answer yes to any of the disabling conditions, because a person can have more than one, you would also want to make sure that if it's a substance abuse disability, that you're not checking yes to all three disabilities. So you're not checking yes to alcohol abuse, both alcohol and drug abuse, and drug abuse. The reason for this is on the reports that we pull the number of disabling conditions a person has, and you don't want to note that the person has 3 disabling conditions if they really only have one, which is both alcohol and drugs. So you're only going to choose one of those 3 options when it comes to substance use disorders. And then we're going to save and exit. So that covers this portion of today's training. Thank you.